Welcome to the Ejakeulate podcast. Today we're going to be talking about probably one of the biggest theories of right now, and that's the flat Earth theory. Yeah,
very topical theory right now.
I mean,
on people's minds.
Yeah, and it's in my opinion, it's blown out of proportion recently. The amount of, I think it's about 2% of all Americans, which doesn't sound much, but that's 6.5 million people in America believe the Earth is flat.
Which is crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, it is. So I think it's a very relevant topic to talk about right now.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, the basis of the theory. I mean, the base of it is that we've been lied to. The Earth's not a sphere. It's flat. It's a disc, and that NASA it's like controlling.
Concerted propaganda campaign against us in schools to convince us that the Earth is flat. So I mean, the Earth is round, so that the government can funnel more and more funds into NASA.
Mm-hmm. They also believe that there's a 150-foot ice wall surrounding the Earth, which is stopping us from jumping off. But there's NASA's whole reason, well, not whole reason, but there's NASA employees that are stopping people from jumping over it, things like that.
Yeah,
which, in my opinion, is ludicrous. But that's not the point. That's not the point.
Yeah, we're not here to poke fun of them. We're going to discuss the theory.
Exactly, because I think that is one of the biggest problems right now with theories like this. Is that it's science versus what you see, isn't it? It's like most of the flat earthers believe it because it's what you see. Everywhere we go, it's basically flat. I mean, obviously hills and things like that, but I think everyone knows that they're just.
I think part of it is also there's not a lot of trust in governments recently, and I think that's culminated in what are they lying to us about? What if they're lying to us about the Earth being round? What if the Earth is actually flat?
The chain reaction, isn't it? If one thing's a lie, why can't this be a lie? Why can't that be a lie?
Exactly.
I mean, it really, in my opinion, it's really interesting because it's like, it's just really strange to hear people's opinions on this thing. It's like, if this many people believe in it, it's actually like, it intrigues me because if this many people believe in it, then there's got to be some reason why. Like, they must have very good evidence towards it. There must be some really good evidence for it. That's what we're going to explore, basically. And I just really want to see
smoke without fire.
Exactly. So the theory itself,
the theory is that the Earth is flat. It also tends to include that the sun and the moon. Well, obviously the moon does, but the sun revolves around the Earth and all the planets, and the Earth is the center of the galaxy.
Yeah,
that's another part of the theory.
Yeah, they believe that the sun and moon is it's not however many light years. Well, I don't even know how far away it is.
0 light years away.
Yeah, it's instead like a few miles in the sky, and instead of being 800,000 miles wide or something like that, it's only about 30 or something like that. And that it's a spotlight. It's not a ball that we know. It's a spotlight. That's how we've got day and night cycle. It goes around the Earth as a spotlight.
Yeah, that's the theory. But the flat Earth part of it is that it's kind of like basically isn't it the North Pole is actually the middle of the Earth, and then it goes out, and then the South Pole is actually this massive ring of ice that surrounds the Earth, and off that is like the edge.
It's the edge, yeah. I mean, to be honest with them, if we were if you think about it very seriously, if you don't research into this and just think about it, it makes sense, doesn't it? It doesn't actually make sense, but
I get what you're saying.
It's like it's a reason.
Certain things don't add up without the science behind it.
Without looking into it at first glance, I'll say it seems pretty maybe not logical.
That's why civilization thought the Earth was flat until like the 1400s.
Yeah, I mean,
but then in the 1400s, the way civilization discovered the Earth was round is I think it was Galileo, but you could whatever. Anyway, some Italian guy, basically, he looked at a boat with a telescope and he noticed that the front of it disappears before the back, and he was like, "Oh well, there's only one reason this would happen, and that's if the Earth was round."
Yeah, exactly.
That's how we discovered.
Yeah, they also discovered things like like lunar eclipse and things like that, that the shadow casted onto like the moon, for example, it was always curved no matter what,
Yeah.
and things like that.
Yeah, precisely.
Now, I want to talk about the effects that theories like this have on society and how it kind of like
Yeah.
it's so not necessarily unacceptable, but
Well,
we,
I've never actually met a flat earther before,
neither.
but there's a lot of stigma against them, and I
Yeah.
feel like they probably get bullied and harassed quite a lot, both
Yeah.
online and in real life, if they're open about it.
Yeah, I mean, I personally, I don't have anything wrong with coming up with conspiracy theory. I think the problem is, like, in my opinion, it is a bit like nonsensical and things like that. But I, I think it's the way we go around trying to figure these things out. Is that the problem? Is that a lot of the cases it's science versus just normal like people, and the problem
Yeah.
is that science is calling them stupid, calling them all that, making them feel like they're the odd one out. And that means that when they do find a fellow flat earther, they feel like they're normal again. They don't feel different.
Yeah. They
And
feel like a kinship and a brotherhood with them
exactly,
because they both feel oppressed, and they both, the thing is, if you don't, if you're not very peaceful, I guess,
yeah,
towards them, if you're going to be like, oh, you're stupid, you shouldn't believe this, then their brain isn't going to register the facts, and what's going to happen instead is they're going to get defensive,
yeah,
which just reinforces their belief.
exactly. They're going to
That's
be
why,
against you. They're like, oh, you're against us. Well, we can be against you. And they're just like, oh, well, everything you're doing is a lie.
and then it all becomes an us versus them mentality.
Exactly.
It all
And
boils down to that.
personally, I think the right way of going around it is science should, because I think science is, but
Yeah.
I think what
Well,
science should do.
the thing isn't. Oh, they're not disagreeing with science per se.
Yeah.
They've got their own version of science.
Yeah.
They believe the science that we're being told is wrong.
Wrong. Yeah.
That's what it is. It's not that they don't agree with science. They're not like, oh, we don't
Yeah.
believe in science. They believe in their own version of science.
I mean, I think the way we should go around it is science and scientists and all this, like, and people who are flat earthers, they should try instead of exploring the possibilities as an argument like against each other, they should explore it together.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be a case of arguing and debating. It should be a case of let's explore what we find together
Exactly.
and find the truth.
Exactly. The open conversation.
Exactly.
That's the best way to deal with it. It's through open conversation and intellectual discussion.
Because it lets these people have their beliefs without feeling like they're different and the odd one out and stupid and all that. And it gets rid of it's not necessarily like it's divided, but it will normalize it in a way, meaning that you can question things and you can discover it together and find the truth together instead of doing it by yourself.
And what should happen if you question something which is considered to be a matter of fact, such as this? It shouldn't be that we, lampoon those people and try and discourage them from questioning, because questioning is very useful. It's a very useful skill to question things critically.
Yeah.
What instead should be the debate should be opened and with no derogatory terms used, no insults or anything.
Yeah.
And what should happen, if they're treated like normal people and just spoken to about the topic and are like, oh well, there's overwhelming evidence for this, and you go through it and then try and then also be understanding, try and see things from their point of view as well,
both sides,
and hopefully the phenomena should die down if everyone acted like that. But instead, everyone acts like, oh, these people are stupid. What's wrong with them? They're crazy.
I mean, I also think that flat earthers, in my opinion, because of the way they've been treated, it's like you start at point A, which is what we've been taught, the Earth's a sphere and all that, and point B is your conclusion that the Earth's flat, right? And I think that instead of starting at what we know, flat earthers have just said what we know is rubbish. Let's start at point B and to try and work our way back to why the Earth is proven to be a sphere. They've gone from, oh, the Earth's flat. They're trying to prove it from that side of it. It's like, they're doing it in reverse. And I think that's probably what I get where they're coming from, but the problem is that they're both on other ends of the spectrum. Like scientists are at point A, as flat earthers are on point B, and they're going at it at different angles. Whereas I think they need to approach it like the same way.
Yeah, there needs to be more looking at it from each other's sides, each other's points of view.
Yeah, it's like flat earthers are basically they've come to the conclusion without much proof that the Earth is flat, which I think it's not the right way of going around things, because it's like anyone could say that. Like I could say, oh, like the Earth's a triangle. Like I've got no proof to say it, but that's just what I believe, and I've got to work back to try and prove that the sphere's like that's fake. It's just it's
exactly.
I feel like they're going at it the wrong angle. They need to kind of go at it the same way. I don't think I'm making much sense here.
No, no. You're making sense. Yeah. I get what you.
They're just at different ends.
Because we arrived at the conclusion that the Earth is round is because we looked at it from a non-objective, scientific, investigative point of view, and then came to the conclusion that the Earth is round. However, these people are looking at it that they've come to the conclusion that the Earth is flat, and now they're trying.
Yeah, before even looking at the facts.
It's not non-objective.
Yeah,
because we came to it through a non-objective standpoint, but they're coming at it from an objective one, which is they are trying to prove that the Earth is flat. They're not trying to see if it's flat or round. They're not open.
Yeah, they're trying to
answer.
Prove.
They'll only accept the answer that it's flat.
I mean, I'm not going to say that all of them are like that, but a lot of them will be. Because this thing...
There's a significant portion of them.
Yeah, with everything, there's two different types. There's the ones that are skeptical, and the people that are skeptical are the ones that act on it. They are like, well, the Earth's flat, I'm going to prove it. And they do experiments which are correct to try and prove their theory. And their conclusion from it is the deciding factor of whether they still believe it. And I think then people go around, but some of them, even with the facts that, let's say they accidentally prove the Earth's round by doing an experiment, they still wouldn't accept that. They would bring up a reason why that they've just thought of. And I don't know what you'd call them, but there's always the
conscious would just not be able to process it, so it'd fill in the gaps. That's what happens with your brain. It's really weird when you're so adamant that something is true. You're sometimes, some people can process it, but some people just can't process it when it's not the case. And like their brain will just fill in the gap with some idea that doesn't make sense to anyone else, but makes perfect sense to them.
It just goes in like a loop. It's just like they come to like they try and reason with why this has happened instead of just accepting that it's like that.
And that's the issue. Is that it's rooted in the human psychology, and I feel like a part of that is to do with how they've been. I guess just their sort of their mental way of thinking. I guess it's to do with how they've been raised and stuff, because you're not raised to critically ask questions and critically think about stuff, and then you get into your head that something is this way, then you can't critically think about it, then you're not going to be able to change your opinion on that. And it's unfortunate to people who are like that, but that's just how it is.
Yeah, it's also the way that they see like the opposing view is that because of the way like the opposing views like treated them, for example, like personally me, I believe the Earth's it's not flat. That's what I believe. I'm not saying it's fact, but I'm just saying that I believe that it's not flat. But the way some people like me would treat someone that's a flat earth, they'd call them stupid, an idiot, or whatever. So in their brain, they're like, we can't accept like people like that. They don't want to believe that we're right because they don't like people that treat them that way. If that makes
sense. And another thing, because we lampoon them so much, they want nothing more than to prove us wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
Because proving someone, because that's a lot of the motivation is trying to, because a lot of these people think they already know that the Earth is flat. They're just trying to prove it to people who think the Earth is round. And I think that's part of the reason why why they don't accept results that say contrary to what they believe, because they don't want to be proven wrong, because they've been, lampooned and called stupid so much
Exactly.
that if they admit that they're wrong,
They'll feel
it's only going to get worse.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the thing with the sort of the culture that we're in, is that if you think something that's not if you question something that is considered, against the social norms,
you're an idiot.
but you get attacked for it, and then you are proven wrong. If you admit that you're wrong, the lampooning doesn't stop. It gets worse.
Yeah.
People get worse in regards to how they treat you, which it doesn't make much sense, but that's literally how it is from personal experience.
Yeah. What I also think is very strange about the whole social aspect of it is that also a lot of celebrities like to claim that they're flat earthers, things like that. And I think that further.
I don't know any.
Well, I mean, there was some basketball players like Shaquille O'Neal and Kyrie Irving.
Oh right.
They said that they were flat earthers, and that, in my opinion, it reinforces not necessarily hope, but if you're a flat earther and you see someone that's really mainstream saying I'm a flat earther, and they're not getting much hate for it. I mean, they've just said it out loud. It kind of it urges you to really seek this out.
Exactly. It's like when all those celebrities joined the Church of Scientology, and the church got loads of new members because of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a similar thing.
I mean, in this case, the people apologized saying that they just did it as a joke, but either way, I feel like even do that as a joke. Let's say
taking advantage of a trend.
Yeah,
to boost
exactly.
Your profile.
Yeah,
they're boosting their profile. That's the main.
Yeah, but at the same time, let's say, for example, you seen that, you're like, oh wow, this celebrity that I'm a big fan of his. It's just said he's flat earther, and then all of a sudden said, no, I was joking. I'm not that stupid. How is that going to make you feel as well? That's
going to hurt.
Exactly, that's what I mean. That's going to push you further away from the norm again. So I feel like the way society
feel betrayed.
Exactly. I mean, most people are saying, "Oh, it was a joke." They're like, "Oh, yeah, of course it was a joke," But to people that actually believe this, it's probably. I mean, it further sections them off from everyday.
Precisely.
Exactly. I mean, I feel like it is kind of wrong in some ways. Before I even looked into this, I wouldn't have seen this. But if you look into it, you can really see why they have been sectioned off and why they are so adamant they are right and why they want to prove that the Earth's flat. There's so much from just one reason in that society, the way they treat them, it's big enough motive for them to be against everyone. And I think that not necessarily people need to change, but the way we go around, treating people with different views and questioning things should be altered in a way. Shouldn't be going around it this way. So yeah, let's get back to the theory itself. So do you know what the theory on gravity is?
Yeah, wait, do you mean what gravity is, or what they believe gravity is? It's something it's like a dark energy or something. I'm not 100% on it, to be honest.
They believe that it's some sort of mystical dark energy that is propelling the disk at 9.8 meters per second, which is the constant rate of gravity, through space.
Do they know what this dark energy is, or
no?
Are they just we can't know?
They just say it's dark energy.
So that. What is it?
I don't know. That's just what they claim.
Do they think it's like a religion thing? That's what their god is or something?
I have no clue. They just claim that it's a dark energy, and I think this is it's another reason why they may seem they just seem to have an answer for everything, and it doesn't quite add up though, does it? It's what if you question them, what is the dark energy? They would say it's a dark energy, man. It would make sense
with our definition of gravity.
it's very, it's very fleshed out. Gravity is caused by when mass, because the higher mass of something, the more it attracts things around it. That's why the Earth is staying together. That stuff is very well fleshed out.
Yeah.
We've got all this. We've got millions, well, not millions, but we've got like hundreds of equations to do with it. We've got all of this knowledge about it. But when their version is just it's dark energy, that to me is what breaks it for me.
Yeah,
that's what
it just seems like with a lot of their things, they don't seem to
they're grasping at straws.
Yeah, they don't seem to like weigh up things. They just seem to say, "Oh, here's a reason." It seems like they just come up with it on the spot. But at the same time, if you think about it, let's say we are taught from a very young age that it's a dark energy pushing up us into space. We probably wouldn't question it, would we? It's just dark energy. Just like how we don't even question that the theory that mass bends space. That doesn't really make sense, does it?
I mean, it is only a theory.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of evidence to suggest it, but it's still only a theory. It hasn't been definitively proven.
I think that's another reason. It's like we've been taught and it's been pushed into our brains that like the Earth's round and that gravity, it's mass bending space. But
there's no doubt that this has been like ingrained into us by the education system, and even like you can still be indoctrinated into factual information. It's still a form of indoctrination because there's an opinion about it, and we've been indoctrinated into a specific one. And that's, but it's like that with every single subject.
Yeah.
That isn't like maths, and even then, there's still a degree of opinion involved, and we're indoctrinated into it.
Yeah.
But I think they have an excuse when it comes to things like gravity and that. I think they have an excuse to indoctrinate us into those theories because they have the most momentum behind them. They've got the most, all these brilliant scientists agree on them. So it's probably safe to say it's probably fact.
Yeah.
I think the education system has an excuse to indoctrinate us into that.
I wouldn't necessarily say it's fact, but it's a solid reason or a solid possibly
it's the most likely possibility.
Yeah, exactly, because it's like gravity. You just can't explain it. It just happened. It's one of them things. It just happened. Of what we know right now, it just happened. But it's so it's like even with their the way they're saying it's we've been propelled. Their reason could just be like that's just the way it is. It just it's just like gravity. It's just the way it is. It happens. And at the same time, it's like if it makes sense though. Let's say the Earth was a disc and we were being propelled 9.8 meters per second. I feel like I couldn't test this out because we couldn't have both instances, right? But in both cases, in my brain, if you drop something, the exact same things would happen. Like if it was a sphere and it was just mass bending space and you drop something, it would fall at 9.8 meters per second towards the ground. And if it was a disc being propelled 9.8 meters per second or whatever it is, into space, and we drop something, the exact same effect would happen. So it makes sense, but it's again the reasoning behind it doesn't, in my opinion, seem solid enough.
Yeah, I agree. Because there's a lot of what was it? The actual Earth itself is being shot upwards.
Yeah.
Is that how it works? Yeah. The problem I have with that, if that's what we perceive as gravity, and gravity as we think it is isn't real, then everything would weigh the same.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
I hear what you mean.
And I'm not sure if you've noticed this, Jake, but not everything weighs exactly the same.
Yeah, unless it's actually the same.
Yeah. But I mean, I've got a cushion here. It doesn't weigh the same as my dog, does it?
No, a cushion isn't. I mean, but at the same time, though, I don't necessarily think it's been necessarily proven, but the Earth, as in our galaxy, is being shot through space right now. Our solar system is being shot through space.
Yeah.
I don't know the reason why. It's probably something to do with
it's all
fields and,
orbit.
gravity. Yeah, exactly
everything orbits something, because our Earth obviously orbits the sun, which then orbits a superstar in the middle of the galaxy, which then orbits a giant black hole in the middle of like this cluster of galaxies, which then orbits an even bigger thing in the universe, which orbits another bigger thing. Everything orbits something. There's always something bigger that is, we're all orbiting.
I mean, if I was a flat earther and I was to believe that gravity is just us being shot up into space, I could easily say that, oh, you think our whole solar system is being shot through space. That's pretty similar to what I'm saying, that we're being shot up at 9.8 meters per second. And
the reasoning
exactly, the reason behind it. If you say, oh yeah, can you go into more detail? I'd be like, I mean, it just happens. Whereas with the theory that our whole solar system is shot through space, is that you can actually explain it and say that it's all about gravity and like mass bending space, and it's got more solid evidence for it than just saying
exactly.
And that's with a lot of things to do with flat Earth and other conspiracies that at first glance you could be like, that makes sense, but there's not enough reasoning behind it.
When you go into the details, looking at it from just a blank, face value, it makes a little bit of sense.
That works.
But when you go into detail, when you look properly into it and try and see their method of thinking as to how they got to these conclusions, it's all very vague and there's not a lot of actual logic behind it. It's more of, oh, well, this is this and that's it. We haven't got a reason
they
for
don't
it.
want you to question it. It's like you just don't question it.
Which, no offense to anyone who might, says a lot about kind of people that believe in this stuff.
Yeah,
but I'm joking.
Yeah,
it'd be hypocritical of me to say that.
Now they also think that the Earth is flat because of, again, our solar system is being flung through space at thousands of miles per hour, whatever, and our Earth itself is rotating at 1,000 miles per hour. Yet, how come we do not feel the effects of it? And I got to admit, that is a pretty good point.
Yeah,
but
it's not moot, but it's not exactly I wouldn't consider it a good point.
No,
because it's all a case of we've been used to it because we've lived like this.
You're born into it
forever. Exactly. You don't notice things like that. It's like how you don't like the smell of air because we've been breathing it for so long. It just that's just how it is.
Exactly. And it's with a lot of the points, just like, again, like if you first like look at it, you think, oh yeah, why don't we feel it? But as soon as you like look into it a tiny bit, you just think like you're born into that atmosphere. Your body knows nothing else than spinning at that speed. If the Earth was to suddenly stop,
we've evolved like this for millennia.
Yeah, like
it all comes back to the same sort of roots. Is that
if the Earth was to suddenly stop, everything would get destroyed. Everything, because the amount of G-force that would create, like we would be flung. We would all be dead. Like, I mean, there's no way of proving that would happen unless it actually happened. And it's just like, if you think about it hard enough, it makes sense.
Well, it can be proven. Maybe not with current technology, but it can be proven if you got a artificial gravity generator, which can be made. It's when you get like a ring in space, and if it spins fast enough, it creates gravity. And
gravity's
it's possible. There's no NASA doesn't really any space agency doesn't really have the money to make it right now. But it's definitely possible. And if we did that and then stopped it, and everyone on board would just fly forwards.
Yeah. Thing is that I don't even think that would like. I would think it is a waste of money and time to even do that, because like if you're gonna prove it, then like I don't think it's one of the things you should look into if you're trying to prove the Earth's. There's many better ways, and even right now with a simple laser, you can prove. Well, it has to be a strong enough laser, not a simple one, but you can prove the Earth is flat and things like that. I mean, you're talking about you have to create gravity. Gravity is literally everywhere. My phone has gravity. I mean, it's not a noticeable amount. It is so tiny. Like me as a person, I have gravity. You mean
Yeah, everything has a degree of gravity,
yeah,
but it's like so minute.
yeah, exactly.
It has to be something big like the Earth,
Yeah,
because the Earth's gravity cancels out everyone else's gravity.
yeah. I mean, if you measured, like, if I put my hand next to my phone, for example, after maybe a year, if you like measured like an atomic scale, like how much it moved, it would probably move a tiny amount. But like you can prove that, like, and that also reinstates the fact that gravity would be mass bending like space, because how could, if we're going up at 9.8 meters per second, how come my phone is slowly moving towards me? You know, things like that.
Yeah,
just
exactly.
It doesn't really add up to. Another very like sort of reason why the Earth couldn't possibly be like this is lunar and solar eclipses.
Yeah, because during an eclipse, when it's when the sun shines on the Earth and that creates a shadow on the moon, right?
Exactly.
And the shadow of the Earth is it's definitively round. And obviously the argument flat earthers put is, oh, shadows are 2D, so you can't prove that, it's just a circle. But that's not strictly speaking true, because of the way light works. When it's on something such the scale and distance as the Earth and the moon, you can definitively, not just by looking at it direct, but when looking at it with scientific instruments, like telescopes and stuff, you can tell. There's a definitive way to prove.
And it's also fact that the only object to create a perfectly circular shadow, no matter what orientation, is a sphere.
Yeah, only a sphere can create the.
And also, a lunar eclipse would not even happen if we're going by their theory that like the sun and the moon they are
precisely
above the Earth. It wouldn't happen. Yeah. I mean, something like a solar eclipse where that's the moon is in front of the sun, that could happen because they say that the moon actually travels slower than the sun.
Yeah, which explains why sometimes you see the moon during the day.
Yeah, exactly. But like it's the lunar eclipse. It just doesn't make sense. Like, and yeah, a disc could shine a circular shadow onto the moon, but with the way that they're saying it worked, it would never happen. But let's say it did happen. For example, the Earth was a flat disc, and it did shine a perfect circular circle. It would only ever happen if it was at the correct orientation. Because if the disc was sideways, you're going to see a vertical line or something going across the moon, and I don't think that has ever been seen, ever.
No,
so either,
it hasn't, because it can't happen.
Exactly. So either they're right and they've got very lucky that it's never happened, or the Earth's a sphere, which is the most logical answer.
Because the sun and the moon are constantly moving, if it were the fact that the Earth is flat and there's during a lunar eclipse, it would be a perfect circle for about maybe like a fraction of a second.
Yeah.
And then it would move, because it's constantly moving, because the sun and the moon are constantly moving.
Yeah. And it's just,
so it wouldn't work.
Exactly, like natural things like this. I mean, some of them may even say that, oh, they're fake. It's NASA doing all these things. And again, that just comes back to the way society almost treats them, and that they just think whatever anyone does is a lie almost. That is disproven.
But the thing is, the reason why it's the motive that they have for it being lied to us about is that the government wants to take more money from us so that they can, quote unquote, fund NASA.
Yeah.
But that's why they perpetrate the myth. But the thing is, we've known the Earth is round since the mid to late 1400s.
Yeah.
And I don't think during the Renaissance NASA was a thing. I don't think during that period of time the government was actually using tax money to try and do stuff in space. It was mostly like private investment. Like scientists had to actually sell stuff. They weren't funded by governments. Exactly. And I think that's where it falls apart, because in conspiracy theories, for me, the make or break thing is always the motive.
Yeah.
Why would the government be doing this? And the reason the flat Earth one, it just, it falls apart for me, is because we've known the Earth to be round longer than even the government that is the United States has existed.
Yeah.
The United States only came into existence in mid 1700s, well over 300 years after we proved that the Earth is blooming round.
Yeah, I think another reason why the theory falls apart is because the facts individually, I personally would say that they make sense on an individual level. They make sense, but when you put every single fact together, that they're not fact, but every single thing that they're claiming is fact
Theory.
together, right? It does not add up. They collide with each other. This it happens in this instance.
Contradict.
Exactly. In this instance, it doesn't align properly altogether. I mean, individually, I would say they have good points. Not all of them, but some of them are pretty good points in my opinion.
They have a lot of moot points as well.
They're not. The points aren't necessarily valid, as in like they've not got much proof for them, but they're on first glance they would make sense. And that brings up another really good point that some of them have pointed out, and that is to do with flight paths in the southern hemisphere. And if not many, they claim that no flights ever pass over the Indian Ocean, and I agree that I wouldn't say none do. It's hardly any, hardly any, and it is a bit strange because the flights that go from like South Africa to Australia, for example, they'll go to India and then to Australia.
But that's entirely for an economic reason.
Yeah, but it's like, let's say we did see it from their point of view, right? If they do it that way, it's a longer path on a spherical Earth, right? It's a longer path, takes more fuel, it's gonna cost more money. Whereas on a flat Earth, that is almost a straight line. That's a perfectly straight line.
However, the problem I have with that is that, and we obviously talked about this before we started recording.
Yeah,
is that they're not as many people going from South Africa to Australia as there are South Africa to India.
Exactly.
There's for one,
population.
There's actually a large Indian population living in South Africa.
Yeah.
And for two, India's got way higher population than Australia. There's going to be more return flights from people holidaying. And that's a matter of fact. So they wouldn't profit as much from going direct South Africa to Australia as they would South Africa to India to Australia.
Again, I think this point is actually it's really good, because when I first saw it, I was like, that is so weird. But then when you look into the explanations for it, I found some really easy, and that is because I didn't even realize this until I found it, but 90% of the Earth's population live north of the equator in the North Hemisphere.
Yeah.
That shocked me. I was not expecting 90%. Only 10% live in the Southern Hemisphere. So most flights, if you look at a live flight tracker, they will all be taking place in the Northern Hemisphere.
Yeah, they all go to the Northern
Exactly.
Hemisphere.
So for a flight like what do you call it, a company, like EasyJet or whatever, let's say,
an airline,
they're gonna make more money stopping at somewhere like India because more people live in the Northern Hemisphere. So them going all the way to the Northern Hemisphere, taking a stop there, anywhere in it, they're gonna have more people, because let's say South Africa, Australia, maybe 10 people in South Africa want to go to Australia, whereas in India, maybe 500 people want to go to Australia. So it's going to be more profitable to go to India and then to Australia instead of making that stop. It's going to make them more money.
And it's the same with anywhere.
Yeah.
You don't get flights from Southern Hemisphere countries to other Southern Hemisphere countries unless it's somewhere like in South America and it's not very big. It's like propeller plane flights across the jungle.
Yeah.
But that's for a different reason. You won't get flights from obviously you won't get flights from Australia. You won't get many flights from any other African country to say Brazil or something. You wouldn't. because it doesn't make economic sense.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, 90% of the world's population is in the northern hemisphere.
Yeah. And it's also like, I mean, you could easily do things like if you right now were to search up for a live flight tracker, you would see that there are flights that are in the Indian Ocean that are going from.
There's not many.
Yeah, there's hardly any. Like, if you look at it, most of the ones go from. It's mainly Europe to America.
Yeah.
And they're all over. I don't know what sea it is. Is it the Pacific? They're all going over there, but there is very limited. But it's like, at first glance, yeah, I would agree with them. It is very strange. But when you look into it, it makes a lot of sense why it's happening from like a business point of view, basically. I mean, it just seems like the facts that they have, or not facts, the fact whether they claim are facts, they just don't add up properly.
Yeah.
And also another way, in a recent, I don't know if you've seen it, it was called Behind the Curve. That was it on Netflix. They these flat earthers that, I mean, I think they were going around this the right way. They were flat earthers, but they were trying to prove that the Earth was not a sphere by doing actual tests. They weren't just sitting at home, just making it up. They were actually trying to do tests. And what they did is they shined a laser across a lake, and I'm pretty sure Discovery Channel did this as well. And they set up different points further along it, and they said if the laser was at the same height the whole way across, then the Earth was flat. Whereas if at one point the laser was really high on like a board that they had set up, then there was obviously some sort of curve. And it ended up being proven that there was a curve because at the last point the laser was like 23 feet in the air instead of 17 feet, proving that it was curved. And in my opinion, it was kind of funny to see that their reaction, because they still didn't believe it.
Well, yeah. I mean, we've gone over why that is.
Yeah. And it still didn't believe it. And it, I mean, it just baffles me a little bit, though. Like,
it does have a degree of baffle.
Exactly.
Doesn't it?
Even though they've just been proven wrong, they still can't take it in and believe. And it all goes back to like society and the way that they're portrayed, and that's what I think one of the biggest issues with the flat Earth theory, society, and like the effects that society have on them and the effect they have on us.
Because the way they, because however way you spin it, they are mistreated. That's like however you spin it, whichever side you're.
Yeah.
They are very people do not treat them well.
But the thing is, though, is that a lot of people are very unaware to it. Like I was unaware to it before even looking into it. I thought, oh, of course they're idiots. You know what I mean? I was one of them people just saying they're idiots. But looking into it, yes. But looking into it, you really do see like the way that like it's like you almost feel bad for them in a way. You feel sympathy or empathy towards them.
Yeah.
Like you can see why they are making themselves look so stupid. Well, I wouldn't say they are making themselves look stupid, but you can see why some people would think they're looking stupid because they're trying so hard to prove that everyone else is wrong.
Yeah.
So hard. I mean, I'm pretty sure we've covered a fair amount of flat Earth theory there. I mean, you can look into it more. These are these are like the biggest reasons. Right? I mean, I have tried to see it from both point of views, but I still can't like.
It's very different from their point of view, but I always try to look at it from the other perspective. I'm a big fan of looking at it from both sides.
Yeah, I mean,
but it's very difficult.
Yeah, I mean, I still believe it's fair. Do you still believe it's fair?
I think it's the other round.
I mean, you can look into it yourself. That's always the best way of going around trying to search for these things. And my research into it, as it's not really taken me anywhere, but it really has opened my eyes to like the social aspect of it. And I kind of feel I feel kind of bad for some of these flat earthers. I don't know. But yeah,
because it's unfortunate that they think that.
Anyway, that's the end of
the Ejakeulate podcast.
Yeah, so it's been nice talking to you, Matthew.
Been nice talking to you, Jake. Thanks for having me.
It's all good.